Hello, everyone. This is Navina, and for April Fools, I will be reading Flawed. Flawed is basically going to be supposed to be OCX canon characters. However, since the majority seems to like a reader insert version, I will be reading the reader insert version. As the saying goes, it was the first day that you came to the country after running away from your home. Although there were mysteries left untold and people you wished to escape, there was only one thing that you never understood. Why do these men keep falling for me? These are the following content warnings to be looked out for: delusion, lovesickness, yander behavior, stalking, violence, murder, jealousy, non-consensual touching, and this is catered for female readers. Although the majority has voted for the revival of Flawed with the reader insert in mind, please keep in mind that this is an April Fool's joke. This didn't happen, and I do apologize if this offends you, but once again, don't take this too literally. With that in mind, let us now proceed. Since the start, you never understood the matter of obsession, especially when it comes to love. Don't misunderstand. Of course, you know how bad obsession can be. In your time spent in this world, you have seen so many seemingly getting utterly obsessed with your existence, oftentimes stumbling and trying to get your attention. Try as you might to ward them away, they seemingly can't stop themselves from even fumbling over you. It was, in all honesty, a mess. Sometimes you even wonder if these people are even normal with how they can't seem to look at you right in the eye. So you might find them cute, as they seemingly can't understand the meaning of "look at me." What is not cute is when they start committing crimes. They say it's all because of you, but really, what is it about you that drives them to such a thing? So when you have a feeling it was going to happen and you know that it will, you have a knack for such a thing. Even when you used to struggle to tackle it for a week, you immediately started planning to move to a different location entirely. In your flawless logic, it's the only thing that drives them away. They can't find you if you can't find them, no? Alas! It never works. Each time you seemingly tried, hoping and praying to the gods above that they'd give you a small respite, a breather even, they seemingly come back like a weed, trying to suffocate you with spouting such nonsense you hear on a daily. But one thing you can say that it worked for the first two times, in those times you were able to gather yourself and breathe. Perhaps relax as you no longer have to worry about those people following you. But when they find out where you went, they never seem to stop from then. Each time you ran, they followed. They followed and followed up until you had to uproot your entire life to go to a different country. If only to even get a chance to think clearly. And here you are in a country you chose to stay in, Mondstadt. It does seem quite lovely, and the chatter amongst normal people was a nice change to the near screaming you hear almost on the daily. Although you miss your friends back at Fontaine, you can hardly think about coming back. After all, those obsessive fools may just catch whiff of you and follow you here. You can't have their disgusting hands grab you, right? As you stayed in Mondstadt, you find a few things about the residents here. One of them was about your shop, which was booming in the aspects of textiles, weaving, and flowers. There was another one, but you heard that the owner had went missing. Oh well, it must not be important. The next two were two bars. One of them you took little interest in, considering the famous one was run by your two closest friends. You, Aether, and Lumine go way back. Practically when you three were kids. Although you three grew apart since you got to senior high, all of you stayed in contact. And besides, the latter must be run by some drab, so you'd rather catch up with your friends than go somewhere unfamiliar. And finally, the one thing you absolutely adore was the bachelors you see. You overheard that there was a painter that's globally known in all Tibet, especially in the art world. You never knew what his alias is, but there were talk among the townsfolk of good artists that is seen in a town square. And luckily for you, you were already heading there, and you had to stop when you saw him. Blonde hair tied in a messy short ponytail, the rest of those locks swept carelessly by the wind. Those cyan eyes glimmering in the sun makes it look more like priced gems. And although he only wore a white vest and black jeans, the canvas and paints he has stands him out more than anything. You can only admire as he was painting the landscape, and when his head rises, both of your eyes meet. You simply let out a gasp and turn away, unknowing of the look he must have in his face. Oh no, you mused, biting your lip. I sure hope I look okay. I must look like garbage in front of such a cute painter. You simply closed your eyes as embarrassment settled in, but you did betray your instincts and turn when you hear footsteps walk towards your direction. He's walking towards you. He's actually walking to your direction. Excuse me, he says, his eyes drifting to your attire from the ground up, eyeing the dress you wore, the luggage sent to your face and hairdo. His lips seem to quirk to a smile. Ah, he must be the one the twins mentioned to me about. Name, yes? He knows me? Yes, that's me, you answered, your voice faltering as you began to twiddle your thumbs. Laying on a nervous giggle, you shifted your gaze away from him again, unable to look at him. I guess you're friends with them, huh? Hmm, I suppose. He answers, the soft sound of his voice echoing and making you feel more hung up on it. That aside, I do believe instructions are in order. My name is Albedo. It's a pleasure to meet you. Oh, you know it's a pleasure mine, he thought dazedly. What a prince! This must be what adoration feels. Being with Albedo felt akin to a dream, and sometimes you swear that those days you spent hiding from those insane suitors were all behind you. After all, there's one thing that they can never attain. It would be what he has, the charm, wit, and his smile. You were utterly hooked because of that smile of his. Sure, there were moments that it felt like he was pushing those bounds bit by bit. You would catch him trying to hold your hand, something you always told him to stop, or the times he would give you those eyes. You always thought he may be trying to hide his obsession for you too, and he's just trying to subvert the flame. In your mind, you knew you aren't doing anything wrong. Why would you? Were you even expressing those thoughts in hopes that he would notice you? And yet, even with that in mind, you can only find yourself dumbfounded when you hear from Alice, his companion, that he is away for a month. Something related to his work, she reasoned to you, but you took it as a sign of something sinister. No, it can't be, you thought, horrified as you paced in your house. Don't tell me. Now, you hate to suspect that people you like. You hate the feeling of doing that, of thinking the person you may actually consider normal in your perspective to have fallen like the rest of the buffoons. You hate to think that they become obsessed, that he became obsessed. So, in that regard, and by the stroke of luck that he's gone for a month, you begin to cut off contact with him. You begin to block him everywhere, delete his number, make sure to throw away things you suspect that he has tampered with. It was a lot, but it was all for your safety. After all, why would you bring yourself to trust him if he's kind of obsessed with you? It'd be a nightmare. And in your endeavors to cut him off of that heinous idea, you began to plan out your next moves. That was until you bumped into him. Raising your head, your eyes met turquoise, a unique color you thought, but you realized there was only one. Oh my, you hear the recipient speak with a chuckle. I wasn't expecting to see such a cute lady here. So, you must be named that I hear from Alice. You simply squeaked as he said your name, the dulcet tone standing out far more than the soft voice you hear from that wretched blonde. I am, you stammered, raising a hand to cover your mouth. Your free left hand began to fiddle with your hair, twirling a strand before you tucked it behind your ear. I'm so sorry, I wasn't looking. He seems amused at that as he reached over to hold you from leaving. Uh, uh, uh. He toots. Not so fast, so little lady. What's the hurry? I don't think it's respectful for you to walk out on someone. Pulling his hand to your arm, he traces his fingers until he grabs your hand, raising it to graze his lips. Such is the behavior of a suitor. Call me Kaya Alberich, Miss Name, he whispers, his lips curled up to a smug grin. Or shall I call you my darling Lily instead? He's going to be the death of me. Unlike the time you spent with the blonde stalker to be, the time you spent with the Casanova was interesting. He seems to have a lot of fun regaling you with the tales of his own, weaving them into elaborate chronicles you find yourself listening to for hours. He was an avid storyteller, and the things he tells you feel so surreal, and yet when you look into it, it was true. You even found out he was single too, but you never told him that. Despite this, however, the redhead is the one that catches your eye. You half expected for him to even meet your gaze a few times you and Kaya are together in his bar, but when you two do, he seems to look at you with disdain. You didn't understand why he does. Kaya tells you that it looks like that to everyone, but you find that extremely hard to believe. Does he know that I came from Snezhnaya? You thought, pursing your lips as you stared at the busy bartender. Or is he simply playing hard to get? You weren't with Kaya today, which is an odd side because he's always free. So you decided to come by to the bar. You've been there for hours now, but even when you were staying there for so long, he never seems to bat an eye on you. It was only when it was closing that you decided to approach the counter. You were obviously annoyed as you slammed the counter, finally catching his attention. And as you opened your mouth, leave. I'm sorry? You uttered, shocked. Leave the bar. We're closing. He answers sharply, his steel gaze hitting you like needles on skin. I've been ignoring you ever since you came here, miss. Please leave the bar. You've been here since 9 in the evening. The audacity of this man! Excuse me? Leave? I've been trying to get your attention. By what, pray tell? He scoffs, crossing his arms with a scowl. By batting your eyes and giggling like a teenager. You scoffed? I never do that. Oh, but you have. You heard him reply, rolling his eyes at you, presumably because he thinks he has you cornered. Which he doesn't. You justified to yourself. In fact, the bar's been empty ever since you came. You've been acting eerie enough that the regulars have left. How audacity it has. It makes you sick. You act like I'm the one that has the problem here, sir. You scowl, reaching over to grab him, but he simply smacks her hand away. Raising his phone, he is now glaring at you outright. Don't touch me, he warns. Miss, I'm warning you. Leave. Leave, or else I'm calling the police. You know what? Fine. Perhaps pursuing him isn't a good idea right now. Fine. I'll leave then. You told him, turning on your heels to leave. It was only when the lady left that Diluc sighed in relief, checking his phone once more. He noticed the messages he got from Albedo, the most recent one being something that he found shocking. I believe we're dealing with a case of lovesickness. The sound of slamming on pavement was the thing that echoes in the room. Blood and petals were being torn to shreds as the two individuals fought for dear life. It was a monstrosity, one may say, and if they walked into the room, they would find out who it was that caused such a gruesome display and who became their victim. Slamming the head on the floor, you felt sweat drip down your face. After what you experienced since that day, you had to be found, and you decided that it was simply better to get rid of the weaker ones that got too close to outing your location. You psycho, you freak! You yelled at the top of your lungs, bashing the person's head as you did so. The mask they wore simply haunted you as you heard them choke and beg, but you didn't care. They were all the same, all of them were the same monstrous beings behind those smiles. Why do you keep following me? You yelled, raising a hammer as you slammed it on his shoulder, making them holler. Didn't I tell you to stop? You drove me out of that town, you freak! As you keep slamming, the bones begin to crack. The sound echoing around. You can hardly hear what they have to say as you seemingly only see red. Your ears hearing the sound of your heartbeat. After a few more slams, you raised the weapon and bashed the head in, cracking it open like an egg and letting blood pour out. Panting heavily, all you can do was look over at what you've done, and it seems that in your haste, you realized who it was that was following you. Actually, that person you murdered wasn't even the one that followed you. The blood staining your hands was one of the innocent. The one you decided to take the place as one of the missing individuals. Raking your hair, you couldn't help but giggle and laugh, the realization dawning on you. You forgot why you came to this town, didn't you? You came here not because of those people who became obsessed and would tell you. Those people were ones that accused you of your crime, somewhat evidence, as you were involved in their cases. What a shame, really. Each time they got close, they simply bludgeoned them, making sure their remains were not to be found. This town was no different. But it's okay, you reasoned to yourself. Raising the now broken body of the floor, you couldn't help but smile, brain matter seeping out and blood oozing like gallons. The flowers you carelessly pulled in your rage remains by your side, but it was simply nothing that you can get rid of now. It's fine now. All you have to do is wipe everyone's memories, and you'll be in their place. Sure, those pesky men will remember, but it's fine. In your eyes, they can't say a word when society thinks that the ones they're supposed to bond with was you, after all. You're the main character of the story, and that's how it always should be. And that is it for Flawed, the reader insert, and our April Fool's Celebration edition. This is a non-canon event of Flawed. This story does not exist in the canon version, and because of the amount of issues that I have run into hosting the events in the past, I decided that I should be doing a dramatic reading of this instead, as it's a lot more easier, and I think that it's probably for the best that I don't try to rerun this event. I hope you enjoyed hearing me dramatize my own writing, and happy late April Fools. I hope that you have been bonked by Tumblr, and if you haven't, quite unfortunate. That day was full of bonks and joy. And once again, my name is Navina. I just read Flawed, the reader insert, and April Fool's edition. Once again, take it easy.